And from there they will head over Kulhavy into Oak Valley, and a nice single track riding up, coming up in the Oak Valley section and into the finish.
We go in amongst the trees. Yes, there will be breakup. I think that is our Songo, Investec Songo Specialized team. Just a brief shot of them. Not entirely sure how far back they are, but judging by the reaction from the Scott team, they keep looking over their shoulders here. They might not be that far back.
Yeah, the Scott team definitely concerned about where the other riders are positioned. You can see Schurter there dragging the other three riders along, trying to really stretch it out and getting the most of his the backup team and also his partner there.
Splash through the water, Saza and Kulhavy. So they've got to fight back. Well, he's done that so often.
You see typical farm roads in this area. The surface is pretty good, and these riders should be able to keep the pace nice and high.
Fumic and from Avancini out of the saddle for a moment, just to try and get a couple more watts onto that bike, and then a very important drink.
The Scott SRAM team definitely looking very dangerous in this race. We're about halfway through the race at this point, not on the stage in the totality of the race, and the Scott SRAM team really getting stronger and stronger as this race is going along.
Absolutely, and the key there is Matthias Sterneman and the management of his abilities here. He's a novice at the Absa Cape Epic and at a stage race this size, so it's how he manages to get through this race will determine, I think, how Scott SRAM feature. And the key to that is how is Nino Schurter going to handle it. He has done this race before, but not. So they have it in them on these sort of roads to pull back, perhaps not all of that time, but much of it.
Yeah, significant in this situation is that Scott SRAM have got 4 riders up the front, and both Cannondale and Investec Songo Specialized only have the 2 teammates, and so they're working on their own, and it's very hard to 4 guys against 2. The 4 guys will win.
Well, a little bit of respite on the downhill there. These guys absolutely flying. You won't get the true perspective of just how fast they're going, and it's a lot of twisting and turning and up and down. You know, there's no free kilometers here, is it?
No, definitely not.
So there we've seen them. We reckon
on the finish at the
chair. So we I guess it's
that leading pack. And he'll.
There's 2 teams on the front end here. Cannondale Factory Racing, digging really deep here. Manuel Fumic on the front and Henrique Avancini behind him. And I keep looking back down the road behind them. I don't see any sign yet of riders there. But look at the wheel just weaving from Fumic, which tells you, well, one of 2 things. It's a steep climb, and fatigue is starting to set in. And Schurter has taken up the responsibility of getting on the front of this group with his partner Sterneman and the 2 young guns, Michael van der Heijden and his partner Andre Frischknecht.
Yeah, Scott SRAM here. Scott SRAM won with Schurter and Sterneman. They're 3 minutes behind, just over 3 minutes behind Investec Songo Specialized. So we might see a change in the overall GC today.
Absolutely, yeah. The gap is 4:02 from Scott SRAM to Cannondale Factory Racing. Cannondale Factory Racing, we're desperate trying to mitigate that gap and close it down. But when you are 2 against 4 here, and one of those 4 is the Olympic and world champion in such great form, it's going to be very hard for Fumic and for Avancini. And they've got to be mindful of the team behind them. So they don't have to worry about anything. All they have to do is to go as hard as they possibly can, close the gap to Scott, and hope that Saza and Kulhavy don't close them down. They have a 1 minute and 34-second lead going into today, Cannondale Factory Racing over Investec Songo Specialized. So if it stays this way, they'll still have the yellow jerseys tomorrow. Remarkable.
Yeah, should Scott SRAM not pull out the gap beyond 4 minutes, then they should still hold on to that jersey.
Now this it's not far from where we are, but there are so many trails here. Our helicopters parked on the top of that dam. Well, look how empty that dam is. Very distressing indeed. Contenders
today, and very excited to see where we'll end up today.
Yeah, they are. The Land Rover Technical Terrain flying in towards Oak Valley, the yellow jersey pair. So, and they are this is fairly familiar terrain here on the Oak Valley estate.
Yeah, we're definitely on Oak Valley already here, and you can see Fumic there at the head of the field, and you can see these guys really hammering it from the start. And there's Kulhavy and Sauser going through. We see Plascon's a great day out for them again, and Max and Piers Leon there right on the wheel of.
If you had a clock running, as we didn't, you would have been able to tell us how close the Cannondale Factory Racing team were, or how far they were ahead of this
boys to the finish.
It's great to watch the best in the business, Nino Schurter, and his young partner Matthias Sternemann, the gold and silver medalist from the Swiss National Championships, and Frischknecht's another Swiss rider, Van Hayden from the Netherlands, but obviously the Swiss have an incredible depth of talent in their country. So if you win the Swiss Championships, many say you win the World Championships, because you've got to beat so many quality riders.
And they're in the white jersey, the World Championship jersey that he won last year.
Yeah, Nova Mesto, the World Championship. So yeah, this is very, very close to home on the grounds of Oak Valley, a familiar single track. For many of you who've been here before and ridden in these parts, you'll know pretty much where they are. They've got these gullies of forest where they do have single track sections. As I said, we're not entirely sure which of those sections they'll be using, because there are so many options.
Yeah, and what a ride.
Let's just pan down, and can we see the riders? There they are. So it is Scott SRAM. 4 of their riders are sweeping towards the win. An Absa Cape Epic win here.
Is riding very well together, and we can.
Won the last 2, of course. Cannondale Factory Racing won the prologue in stage 1, and teams and their young guns. Well, which one of these 2 teams will take the win? Weaving their way in and out of the trees along these beautiful trails. They'll know it's not far. They'll hear the finish. They know the helicopter's above them.
Yeah, taking the final turn here, they will swing onto the field. Taking the final turn here, they will swing onto the field and into the finish straight.
There we go. What a day for Team Scott. It is, I think, Van Hayden and Frischknecht took the win there.
Fantastic images there.
Absolutely incredible racing. What a day for Team Scott mountain biking. They have taken the win. They put a huge that has some insurance, but are they going to finish more than 4 minutes behind?
Being the longest stage of the race now, and from here on in,
these 2, Fumic and Avancini, Germany and Brazil for Cannondale Factory Racing, desperately hanging on to their yellow jerseys.
Those interested in the women's race, we've got news from the field at water point 3. Susan Stenenhag is in the lead, followed by Strauss and last 35 seconds back, and absent from that group is Sabine.
So here we go. The yellow jerseys, Cannondale Factory Racing, Fumic and Avancini cross the line. And I think they've managed to hold on to those yellow jerseys, but only just. My word, it's going to be a fascinating last 3 days of racing here at the Absa Cape Epic as they gang up on one another at the sharp end of the race. Just 4 minutes and 3 seconds cover the top 3 teams going into today's stage.
He closed up
with
finish, trying to conserve their losses.
So one shortly. And get. Let's see now.
Scott SRAM, both.
Team
the Absa SRAM Young Specialized.
GC, we can have a quick word with one of the riders. Guys, congratulations. You've got to be happy. I think you're still out front. Must have been a big effort. You knew that you had to stay with Scott.
No, we are really happy. It was a really good day for us. I mean, and today was a really positive day for us. The Scott guys made a good move. They invested quite hard, and they deserved to take the win. And we just rolled it in, you know. After the specialized guys had the puncture, they were pushing quite hard on a rough terrain. So we just made our way to the finish. So we are happy.
Good job. If I can have a...
Avancini and Manuel Fumic. What a delight for them. So David Wingfield, a mountain biker of note, head of marketing at ABSA, handing over the bouquets. Which come from this wonderful Oak Valley farm. There we go, Matthias Dinneman and Nino. Second step of the podium, but more importantly, they've made up huge tracks of time. What a ride by these two bright young talents, Frischknecht and Van der Heeren, two men with great futures in the sport. A junior world champion and an under-23 world champion. They are a world-class combination, the Scott SRAM mountain bike team. Top three on the stage. They've come here with a purpose. They went out at that prologue and put a massive marker down to win that and win it fairly comfortably.
Yeah, winning the prologue by over a minute and holding on to and taking it into stage 5.
They rode last year as a combination and it was an exploratory ride. Fumic has ridden this before with another great character, the Italian Marco Fontana, but he came out with Avancini, who'd never really ridden with him up until last year's race, and the Brazilian champion didn't let him down. They won the final stage at the grand finale, and well, since that time they've had a love affair with the ABSA Cape Epic, because they won the next stage they rode here, which was the prologue, and they won the next one, stage 1, and they're still in yellow going into stage number 4. Quite remarkable. So there they roll off the stage. So that's how it unfolded here in the men's race at the ABSA Cape Epic. Unfortunately, we can't be with you, can't bring you images from all the categories. That's the nature of this type of broadcasting. Really difficult to pick them out on the trail. All we know is that Mirandale CBC were looking good in the women's race. Senders Health were battling, but